This is the brand new 2015 Mercedes-Benz C-Class. 2 new engine choices, new exterior styling, new interior, but does new mean better? And we're going to find that out next, coming up on the Fast Lane Car. Now, style-wise, the new C-Class looks a lot like the S-Class. In essence, a baby S-Class. There's a strong family resemblance, and all the German manufacturers are doing that. Think of the BMW 3 Series, looks like the 7 Series, like the 5 Series. What is new on this car is this. Can you hear that? That's aluminum. Pretty much every external panel on this car is aluminum, which means that it's 200 pounds lighter, and that's a lot. Heck, that's a half a Nathan. Under the hood, there are 2 engine choices, and by far this is the one you want. It's the new 3-liter twin turbo that puts out 329 horsepower and 354 pound-foot of torque. That is a lot of torque and a lot of power. All that is paired to a 7-speed automatic, and this is the 4MATIC, which means it is powering all 4 wheels. Now let's take it for a ride and see what that power translates to when we get the car into the twisties. Now, there are 2 versions of this, at least right now only 2, the C300 and this 400. And the C300 starts at about $38,000, and if you want to jump up to the big boy twin turbo, then you're going to have to start at $48,000. And MPG has been announced, and it's actually really good. It's 22 city and 29 highway for a combined 24, which for a car that puts out over 300 horsepower, quite frankly, is phenomenal. Now, this C-Class obviously competes with the BMW 3 Series and the Audi A4. And out of those 3 cars, this by far is the most elegant. It's the nicest. In my mind, the BMW is just a little too austere, and the Audi's getting a little long in the tooth. This interior is elegant, it's stylish, it's soft, and it looks expensive, and really that's what you want when you're getting a Mercedes. You want something that's expensive and says, I've made it. So, the big question, how does it drive? Well, let's find out. Let's go for a ride together and see how this car differs from the previous generation. I can immediately tell you that it feels and drives a lot bigger. This car, like almost every German car, is one size bigger than it used to be. Think of the 3 Series, now the 2 Series slots underneath it. Same thing with this. This is more of a almost E-Class size car than a C-Class. But that's okay, because while obviously this does compete with the 3 Series, they're very different cars. The 3 Series, that's the sporty one, right? That's the one that you want to go tear up a track with. This has always been the more luxurious one, and that theme continues in this model. Besides being lighter, this new C-Class is also bigger. In fact, it's more like an E-Class, and that just translates to a lot more room back here. 4 inches longer, and of course that means more knee room and more leg room. Headroom, still a little bit tight, but that's because I've got this really cool optional panoramic sunroof. When I floor it, there's a little bit of turbo lag, and then, oh my gosh, that torque just kicks in and you're pushed to the back of your seat, and it just feels phenomenal. But because it's a lot bigger car, it doesn't feel quite as agile. It doesn't quite feel like it wants to dance as much as perhaps the 3 Series, but that's okay. This is more of a grand touring car, something that you'd want to take across the country and perhaps use for a long trip hauler. What is now almost obligatory in any new luxury or near luxury car is the ability to change the settings from, in this case, Eco to Comfort to Sport to Sport Plus to Individual. and that adjusts the weight of the steering. In this car, since we have air suspension, it also changes the stiffness of the suspension, and of course it adjusts the throttle response. Does it work? Yeah, it works. You know what I'd like though? I'd like when you go into Sport or Sport Plus, I'd like more horsepower, not just for the engine to be in a higher gear. All this stuff in here, all this is coming down from the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. So you've got the full suite of safety features, including basically the ability for this car to drive itself, which is actually really cool. Stuff like it'll hit the brakes for you if it thinks you're about to crash into the car or object ahead of you. Blind side monitoring, active steering in essence. All the suite of technology that was first introduced in the S-Class, then went down into the E-Class, and now is in the C-Class. And that technology transfer is happening much quicker. It used to take probably at least one product generation, and now, within a year or two of the nicest stuff being introduced in the top model, you'll find it in the same model in much lower price point. So $48,000 starting, you know, it's a Mercedes, you're going to pay for that.
And while we say this is still the C-Class, we didn't want to build a vehicle that, we don't want to build a new E or the new S-Class, but it's taking all the characteristics from an S-Class when it comes to design, when it comes to quality, fit and finish, and apply them to a C-Class. So yeah, it's a different world, and we think this is something that our customers are really looking for.
The other interesting thing about this car, quite frankly, is that when it goes on sale, it'll only be available in the all-wheel drive version. And I think that's because all-wheel drive is becoming an essential component of luxury. People look at all-wheel drive cars and they say, that's a luxurious car. So Mercedes has made the decision, even though it's more expensive, that they're going to introduce this car in both the 300 and 400 in America, with initially only all-wheel drive formatting. The other big news on this Mercedes is, well, right inside here, it's this mouse touchpad. As you can see, there's the old Mercedes command system, which still works like the previous generation with a little bit bigger screen, I would say. But now you can also control it with this touchpad. It's kind of a cross between an iPhone, where you can zoom into things and then zoom back out. And of course you can write letters, so if you wanted to look up a contact in your address book, it's nice. I'm not sure, like all these systems, it's quite ready for prime time. But in general, I like this system better than this one. You've got both, so you can pick which one you like. Alright, so enough talking, let's do some driving. Let me put it in Sport Plus and see how this car behaves when it gets a little bit twisty. The steering is electronic, of course, and a lot of people are complaining about electronic steering. I don't mind it, you know, I think it's weighted nicely. I have a really good sense for what the wheels are doing. I can push this car around in a very confident manner. You know, the great thing about developing a car for the Autobahn is that when you take it on slower roads like this, it still has that Autobahn poise. It feels rock solid. It feels like it's on rails, for lack of a better non-cliche term. And this Mercedes feels all of that. I love this thick steering wheel. I love the way that the seating position is comfortable yet sporty. A lot of cars I have problems with height-wise, and even with the sunroof, my head fits. And I just, I'm impressed by how quiet this is. There is a little bit of a whistle, but that's the camera on the roof. It's not the car. Mercedes has gone to an extraordinary length to make this very quiet. And even when you floor it, a lot of power, not a lot of sound. So out of the kind of the four cars in this category that I'm going to talk about, I think that this is probably right now the most luxurious. The BMW is the sportiest. Obviously, the Audi A4 is the oldest, so it's kind of on its way out. The Cadillac ATS, I think, most directly competes against this. And of course, the Lexus IS, well, that's a size smaller, so it's much more of a nimble car. It's almost what this car used to be at some point. And it really depends on what flavor ice cream you like. You know, do you like chocolate, luxury, then go for this car. Do you like sport, go for the BMW. But overall, I am very impressed by what Mercedes has done to make this car a true driver's car in kind of the best sense of German automobiles.
The car, in this case the C300 4MATIC, is up to 200 pounds lighter than its predecessor.
Yeah, that's, I think, a big news. I mean, basically every single panel on the outside is aluminum, almost every panel.
Correct, yeah, except for the rear fender, I think, which is steel. And you know, we're not just doing that to reduce weight. Obviously, a reduction in weight gives you better performance, gives you better handling, especially with that new four-link front suspension, and increases fuel economy. So it really is
it's like dumping you and probably another 25 pounds out of this car, right?
Exactly. And you know, if you've ever lost 25 pounds, you know what it feels like. So you can feel it right away when you start driving this car. It's a very different handling behavior than its predecessor.
So it's bigger and yet it's lighter. It's
Correct.
not easy to pull off.
Not easy to pull off, and as my boss always says, he wish he could do that from generation to generation, get bigger, more handsome, and at the same time lose weight.
I would be very happy owning this car, but we need to spend a little bit more time behind the wheel to actually find out all the little niggles and all the little bits and pieces that you don't get for driving it just an hour. So on the TFL scale of buy it, lease it, rent it, or forget it, I'm going to say I don't know, because I've only driven the car for about an hour, and as always, it's not fair to you, and it's certainly not fair to Mercedes to rate the car when you've only had a little bit of seat time behind the wheel. So you'll have to come back when we get this brand new C-Class 4MATIC, which is great for Colorado, into the mountains, and we can do a full-on review. As always, this is Roman reporting for the Fast Lane Car. Thanks for watching, and check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and everyday reviews. Ciao. I love Mercedes because they do phenomenal brakes. Really feels planted, really feels solid. And we're coming up to the ski area, so let's slow down a little bit and enjoy the ride. And really, that's what this car is about, right? It's not about carbon quarters as much as the BMW and maybe even to some extent the Audi. I mean, this car is really about being a grand touring car. Comfortable, luxurious, everything in here to make you feel special. And you know, for the most part it does. There's some really nice touches, like for instance, these vents, this wood grain, which is real, bad steering wheel, and a crazy comfortable seat. Germans certainly know how to make a car comfortable for big guys like me. And I suspect if it's comfortable for me, it's probably comfortable for you as well. I'm going with that.